Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to India Game Changer. Today we are joined by Rahul Jain, a co-founder of AllCloud. Rahul, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
Thank you, and I'm fantastic. I'm very happy that I'm speaking to you today. Thank you for calling me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And look, I said this to you before we started recording. Nothing makes me happier than a guy with a killer microphone. You sound great.
Thank you.
I feel like I need to upgrade my equipment just to keep up with you. Anyway, it's great to have you here. Before we get to the main part of our conversation, can you please give our listeners a little bit of your background for some context?
I'm an MBA grad, and I come from a family business background. So before starting AllCloud, I was managing my family business, and then AllCloud happened. After doing my MBA, I'm a commerce student, so that's what I understand much better than anything else. I think a business and how things flow in business. And when this opportunity came by, I was kind of ready in terms of taking on. And then one thing fell into another. And here we are today. AllCloud is an 8-year-old company. We're doing good.
So tell me a little bit more about the family business. I'm always interested about somebody who goes into the family business and then says to mom and dad and the brothers and sisters, I'm out. I'm going to go do something else. So what kind of business was your family in? Was it finance related or was it manufacturing related? What was involved in?
It was finance related. It was lending to automobiles.
Okay.
And that's been the family business for a long, long time. And when I started scaling up the business to different geographies within the city I am. So on the face of the city, we started putting up our shops. And well, one day I felt that, okay, now this is not happening because I need to be in 4 different places every week
Right.
to manage it.
Right.
And I can't keep an eye because it's money, it is cash. You need to have a great oversight on each transaction, right?
Right.
So then I felt technology is needed. Started building something. Then when I met my co-founders who were doing the same stuff, they actually approached me as a client. And then, well, I didn't buy the software, but I kind of purchased the idea in terms of getting on board with them. And we slowly started building in. I was part-time working at the family business and part-time working at AllCloud. But then, things started becoming more exciting here. We started getting clients in. The product became much better. Then I moved full-time. So it was like 2 days, 3 days, 3.5 days, 4 days, 5 days. Now it's 7 days, 8 days a week.
8 days a week. I like this. I want to find something before I make a comment on this, because there was a guy, I think in the 1970s or 1980s, and I'm just trying to remember like exactly who it was. So just give me a second as I get this guy's name. Right? I think it was Victor Kamen, but I want to be sure about this. But he said something very similar to you. He was like, he wasn't approached by the founders, but he said, I used the product and I liked the company so much, I bought it. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think it was for Gillette razors. He said, I like the company. I like the product so much. I went out and I bought the company. And it kind of sounds like the same thing. So your family's been in the lending business for a while. You were trying to build your own technology because you're like, Dad, I cannot be in 16 places at one time. It's just not going to work, right? So we need to have some tech here. And they found you because they were thinking, well, this is a gigantic potential opportunity for us. And you were like, yeah, actually, it's so big. I'm not going to buy it, but I'm going to join it and build it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I think when we started talking about it, we felt that, yeah, this is a great team because I don't understand tech. I can't write a line of code myself, but my co-founders can. And what I can bring to the table is probably the understanding of business. And well, they also have a great understanding of how business works because all of us are from family businesses.
Right.
But then they did engineering and I did commerce. So kind of balances out the team. So one builds, one manages, and one sells. That's what we started out as. And I think that were the primary functions we thought a business should be able to run by itself. But then, yeah, it's just the layer. And as you go one step at a time, you understand that there are a lot of things. So then it was a learning curve for all three of us.
Yeah. This sounds like a classic story of dog fooding, right? Like, you know, you need this product. You know what the product is supposed to do. You know how the lending business works. What was it like coming out of the family business, jumping into a brand new business, and then trying to figure out, in the context of the competitive landscape in India, right, which is a massive country, very competitive to build something from scratch. What did you learn about being a great entrepreneur that says, we're going to explode out of this environment and just get so big that we're going to get discovered by everybody? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it was the feeling that if I was having a problem with technology
Right.
and technology not, being able to help me scale, or we then thought that it is the problem that everybody has.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to work on technology. Everybody wants to work on business,
Fair enough.
right? They want to spend more time growing, scaling, optimizing, and increasing revenue.
Yeah.
And technology as a function should be an enabler. That's what we firmly believe. That technology is for scale, technology is for enabling growth. And then we thought that this is something that could be replicatable. And that's where we started it as a SaaS. So, well, I did not understand what SaaS was at all when we started. I was completely away from technology, and thankfully, my team, my co-founders were very clear that this technology can be scaled if it's built on a SaaS, and they did great stuff in their earlier careers. So, Ankit was from Infosys, Ashish from Deloitte, and he'd seen all of this stuff happening.
Right.
Right? What's disaster recovery, what's cloud data management, what security is, how a process or a product needs to be delivered. So that all put together, I think we thought that if it's put on a SaaS model where people pay as they grow, this is an immense potential, immense opportunity that we can scale with so many people. And as we grew, we understood that, okay, the business of money is same, whether it's in Hyderabad or across India or now across the world.
Right.
I think it's same. It's a debit and a credit. Debits and credit don't change, right? It's across the world.
Exactly. I want to understand this other aspect in a little bit more detail. So if you didn't understand technology, I have to guess that your family was one step further away as well than you are. So when you go to them and say, we need to technologize this business, but we need to do it in a way that's useful not just for us, but for everybody else. I'm curious what those conversations were like, around the proverbial dinner table.
Oh, initially they were a little difficult, but then I think if as you see an opportunity, you see things falling in place, and then you get a little acceptance. And then we started doing this when we hired more people, we had more customers. It became exciting for everybody.
You had said to me you couldn't be in 4 places. I mean, I exaggerated and said 17 or 16. It doesn't really matter. But you were building out locations, right, in individual places to go there. I presume that the people to whom you were lending were coming into your locations almost as if they were like a branch. It's my feeling it's my feeling, right, that these branches kind of never go away because people want to interact with people. The tech gives you the scale. But how do you combine the physical branches with the technology that you're using to create something that actually can scale?
What you need to do is you need to make this physical transaction digital for scale.
Okay.
You entirely remove the touch and feel, or I would say the conversation out of a business. But how do you take this conversation to a digital medium where you can then extract data, analysis, and then build on it? So even today, what we're doing at AllCloud is, working with our customers on the phygital approach as we champion. When we talk to them and say, yeah, digital is good. Digital is good for that set of populations already onboarded and, they ride into the idea that, they are using a mobile phone. They want to transact everything on the digital platform. But there's an immense and large population that still is not entirely on the mobile. They still need assistance in terms of getting onboarded, and their businesses are not all digital, so they are credit invisible in a certain way. The transactions cannot be extracted from a data source, but have to be understood. That's where the physical to digital, the pipe has to be created, and so that's what we've done.
How do you make that transition though? Not for you, but for those businesses that you say that aren't part of the digital infrastructure yet, right? Because this is the real key point. You go into a first tier city, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, all these cities that people have heard of. But once you move into second tier, third tier cities where everything is mobile first, and then sometimes not even mobile at all, how do you go out to those other cities and other towns and convince other people, even on the lending side, that they need this technology, and then to empower the people that need to get the lending done to use this technology, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so what we used to do earlier is to tell people that, okay, wouldn't it be great that if you would want to manage your business right from where you're sitting, or even if you're on a holiday, you can just log into the application and see how you guys are doing work at the office.
Right.
And that was something that was really, really appreciated, because you just imagine that I don't need every day I'm going to this location managing my business. I can't dream of not being there for like 10 days at a stretch. Even if I'm there, I'm calling up every 2 hours and checking in. But now with our application, you could go anywhere. You could go anywhere and you'd still have your business on your fingertips.
And this is B2B,
So
right? So is it B2B or B2C or both?
No, it's B2B, pure B2B. We are a B2B enterprise technology company.
Yeah. So, but how does this work though, right? So you try it out, I'm guessing, right, with your family business, which is lending to automobiles, but there's also, and there are multiple types of automobiles, 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels, right? Trucks, buses, all this kind of stuff. But then there are homes, unsecured loans, all these other things to which you can potentially sell this SaaS product. How do you branch out into those other things, into places where necessarily you didn't have the experience, but you know that there's lending taking place?
So we started out with automobile finance as a product, but then as we met a lot of people, as we met more organized players. So initially we were working with, small lenders. They're kind of unorganized, but then we were lucky enough to land in customers who were on the organized side. And it was not just one product. They had multiple products. So I think the understanding also came from them that they were kind of open enough to accept a young company that was doing great stuff in one product, but they said, all right, you guys can do this as well. And then we started learning, we started understanding business and how we can just replicate the model. So today we have a great stretch of product, not just automobile finance. We've got personal loan, buy now, pay later, which is the buzzword. We've got MSME. It's a great product that we do today. Microfinance, gold loans. We've also got personal loans, different kinds of term loans, stretching out to loan against properties, and then domain-based credit. So if somebody wants to do something unique, they're more than happy to collaborate with us, and we'll kind of create the product by simple configurations, add in the domain layer, the understanding that they have. Again, physical to digital, collect data, put it out in data visualization formats for them to recreate and improvise their models as they go.
What is the impact on the businesses if it's pure B2B enterprise, right? What has been the impact on the businesses that you've encouraged and convinced to use your product on their own growth, right? What have they seen as the impact of having a SaaS finance model embedded into their lending products?
Well, I think in one word, it's scale, because we've seen customers move from a 3,000 odd number loan book to about a 60,000 loan books in about 5 years.
Okay.
And that's purely with the same kind of metrics they had on collections. So if the collections were highly efficient at about 96, 97%, even at the scale of 60,000 odd loans, the collection percentages were same. So again, it's replication of what you do good, but then do it fast and do it at scale.
So the flip side of that question has to be, what is the implication for this new lending? If you go from, what did you say, 3,000 to 60,000, it's 20 times more, which means that you're now lending money to either new borrowers or the same borrowers, but just much more and much faster. What is the impact on the lives of these people that maybe did or did not have access to credit before?
Immense. So there is a huge credit gap in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. I'm talking about 2017, 18, when it was much more huge. But with this product, you were able to reach out to those areas there, those cities where the banks were unable to even penetrate. And then again, the kind of lenders we worked early on were lending to people who were not in the credit for all. Right, their credit assessment was essentially meeting up the borrower, understanding in the conversation whether he has the intent and the capability to pay back.
Right.
So,
do you guys lean on UPI as a way to distribute these financial products?
Yes, we've incorporated UPI as one of the channels for collection for our lenders, and we've seen that even in digital collections, more than 85% of our collections from the digital channel are coming from UPI. UPI is a fantastic thing. It's I think path breaking in certain terms.
For sure. For sure. I think it was a couple of days ago or maybe a week ago, right? Lee Hsien Loong, who's the Prime Minister of Singapore, announced that Pay Now, which is kind of Singapore's version, I believe, of UPI, is linking up with UPI. Yeah. And I'm curious what you think the implications of that are going to be as well.
I think it's going to be easier for if it replicates to multiple geographies, then for people to also service their, bills in India. So if I'm in Singapore and my family's back here, if I want to make payments on behalf of them, I can do it without any hassle. I can transfer money very easily. I've also heard this is just the start of collaboration between two countries. There are going to be many, many countries that are going to be replicating this model. It's going to be easier for students who are going to be traveling from one country to another just to transfer money via UPI and and the collaboration at the other end.
Yeah, and here's why I'm thinking about this. So I was in Singapore in June of last year, and then also in September of last year. I live in Bangkok, right? And here, I almost never use cash anymore. Once I figured out that I could QR code or transfer or use prompt pay, which is essentially UPI in Thailand, for almost anything, I never leave the house. Like, I don't even have a credit card that I use. I literally just have my phone with me everywhere. And when I went to Singapore, I couldn't pay for stuff with my phone. It was so frustrating. It's nobody's fault, right? That's not the point. But it was so frustrating. But now that means that does this mean now that every person in India who has access to UPI can now do the same thing if they travel to Singapore? And then I'm sure it's going to happen in Thailand as well with prompt pay, yeah?
I think that's what's going to be. So now I'm in India. I'm used to doing it via my mobile. So if I travel to Singapore, I'll be able to do that. So it's going to be a little less disruption. And I'm traveling to a different country.
But what does that mean for you now as AllCloud in your ability to now take the stuff that you've built and move it to second and third tier cities in places like Thailand? Indonesia's going to come online at some point, in Vietnam, and the rest of the region. Like, how's that going to work?
I think our learning curve with digital payments is going to be far, far more advanced because we're working in India. India is one of the most toughest
it is.
It's
just so
country
hard,
or a market to work. Very competitive, very advanced. So if we are able to do it here, I think the learnings that we take from our work in India will help us be ahead of the curve in terms of delivering these solutions to countries like Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, anywhere where there is going to be a rise in digital payments and collections in the lending space.
Yeah. I always want to understand, like, if you build this core business, this core platform business around finance, leveraging UPI and then, other payment systems globally, what other products then will you be able to offer on top of that or next to the credit products that you're already offering, since you're part of businesses' financial lives, right?
I think our purpose at AllCloud is to further the goals of our lenders. So what we are focusing on is on the asset side of the balance sheet. So if it's a large loan, then I think a small loan or or a micro loan would be an additional product that we can help our customers offer using UPI, because that's going to be very quick and easy. Disbursements are going to be within minutes. And that's what we'll be able to offer. In fact, we can also break down the repayments into more simpler forms. It need not be monthly, it could be weekly, it could be daily. If they just want to pay, because UPI doesn't come with a charge, right? You can make as many payments as you want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, every time I pay for something in Thailand, there's no charge. None. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
I just like, here's my money, boom. It's less expensive for me to do that than to actually go to the ATM and take money out of a bank's ATM machine. That's not my bank. Right.
Yeah.
So I just wonder what's going to happen to all this stuff.
I think people are going to get used to it. And it's going to be part of our life as cash was. So 5 years down the line, you couldn't imagine moving out without a wallet and some cash in it. And I think the phone is going to be the same.
Yeah, I agree.
You just can't leave the phone.
If you have all this information flowing through your system, and if you've taken companies from 3,000 to 60,000 in their credit book, you and they must be gathering a ton of data, right? So what are the challenges on building a data and data analysis infrastructure for you and the team? That's the first thing. But the second thing is, what are the benefits to having all this data? And then how do you spin it around and say, we have even more data for you so you can actually make even better credit decisions as lenders?
Yeah. So once you get this data all organized into digital formats, then it's very easy to understand the trend. And that's what we're doing now. So I think the first part is to get digital, and then digitalization of your process. So that's what has already happened. Now there is a time for digital transformation, which means that you have the data, you have the analysis. Now you can identify trends and make more informed decisions. In fact, the product can help you make more informed decisions by assisting your team in terms of analyzing the borrower. So that's what we're doing now. We are analyzing collection data, patterns, and working with our customers, specifically with their data set, because what we believe is that lending is a business of persuasion. And if you're able to collect better from a set of borrowers, and probably your competitor is not, then you're doing something very, very unique.
Right.
And then that's something that you should build on. So we work with them, we help them understand data, put it into machine models, and now we're giving them success scores on such data.
Do you see epiphany moments in these companies that haven't been digital before, where you give them access to all this data and they start making credit decisions based on that data that you give them, and you can see it in their eyes and they say, oh, wait a second, now we can do this and we didn't think we could before, but now we can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a eureka moment for them as well.
Yeah, I think so. It should be, right? No?
Yeah, it is. It is. Because, it's always there. They know it, but it's not in front of them.
What does that mean?
It's always there. They know the kind of borrowers they're working with. They know by looking at at a credit profile that, okay, this is going to be good for us. But then if you reinforce them, reinforce this again, in a model, in a representation, then they're like, okay, we knew it, but now this validates what we've always been doing,
thinking.
Right?
Yeah. Do you see a generational difference in the understanding of how to use this digital technology, right? So in a similar way to the way, you told the previous generation of your family business, hey, we need to digitalize. Do you see the same thing in the businesses with which you're interacting as well?
Yes, there is a great acceptance of technology, and people have come to realize that people who are doing well in this or any business, they have used and leveraged technology to their advantage. In fact, when you said generational change, this more happens when there is a change of guard. So the old guard retires, and when the new guard comes, the new guys come in, they're like, hey, now we're not going to be working like this, because they've not been used to. So if I've been used to using an iPhone, all my life,
right?
And you want me to use an MS-DOS based application that takes like ages to generate NEMI's data, I certainly would not have the patience to wait. And then that's where it kicks in. They said, no, now we need transformation. We need to change, or we need to upgrade our technology. So yeah, we're there. If somebody wants to, use an iPhone in terms of lending technology, we're already there.
Did you ever use an MS-DOS application? I cannot believe you did.
No, I haven't used an MS DOS-based application for work, but I kind of used a little, I think, Visual Fox Pro, something like that when I was
Really?
working. Yeah, I did. And it used to work fine. But
Sure.
then always I used to say, no, this is not for me. This is not going to help me move. But I've seen customers build great loan books on an MS-DOS application. And I was like, hi guys, how do you manage? This is ancient,
Ancient.
prehistoric.
It is. Look, I mean, I'll tell you, my first applications were all MS-DOS based, right? And even some of the first spreadsheet applications like Lotus 123 and VisiCalc were all DOS based. So it's just interesting to me that you would actually even know that or bring that up.
Technology was there in some form or shape.
Yeah.
And, but then people don't change the business tech so often.
Yeah,
And they
it's
kind of
true.
stick onto it because there's a lot of change management required. Nobody likes to change or move from one comfort zone
To
to a
another.
zone
Yeah.
that they will take time to get comfortable to. So I think that's why people stick on to legacy applications here. I think it's even not just with small players, it's also with large players because the magnitude of problem is huge there because a lot of people who've been used to this comfort zone, but to move away from that, it takes a top-down approach where the leadership needs to be kind of very certain that they have to do this.
What are your biggest enablers to growth as a company?
People.
People. Interesting.
So we always no. So when we started out, we were 3 plus 5 people, and then when we reached 20, we're like, wow, we're doing something good.
Right.
And then the aspiration was always that okay, we need to be a 50 member company. Okay, now we became 50, then we became 100. Now we're 125. But then I think the greatest drivers of growth have been the kind of people that we've been lucky to have onboarded as team members, as our people in AllCloud, and their understanding of our business. Because I think more than 35% of our people, even today in AllCloud, are more than 4 years with us. So people understand, believe in what we're doing, and that also replicates in the kind of work we do. Our people understand domain very well. They have taken up this attitude to be more consultative in approach. So we don't do anything just because we have to do it across AllCloud. It's that we kind of think over it. We debate ideas, whether it is good for the product, good for the customer, good for AllCloud or not. And then if there's a go ahead from multiple stakeholders, only then things go into the product or as part of our project.
As you grow from 3 people to 5 people to 25 to 50 to 100 to 150, how do you ensure that the company culture that was there when there were so few people is maintained when you're now growing really rapidly?
For us, it's happened organically. I think the initial people that we onboarded kind of glued in the culture that we had. Then they kind of trickled it down to the new people that we have onboarded. But then at a certain point, we felt that, okay, this is not going to be scalable if we do not have a proper HR function in AllCloud. So now we're doing that. We are investing a lot in streamlining our operations, making things more system driven, but still retaining the core values of what AllCloud has always believed in, that people are the most important asset for us.
The last thing I'll ask you before I let you go is, when you go home now and sit around the family dinner table, proverbially, how are the conversations different and what are they like now?
So now I think the conversations are about what we're doing next. What's exciting for me. They ask, okay, what's happened? What's happening in different geographies? Because now what we're working on in AllCloud is from going local to global.
Right.
So there's a lot of excitement about about AllCloud being able to scale from in Hyderabad to India and India to Southeast Asia and Africa. So those are the conversations that are more interesting for everybody, because well, I've never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be able to have a business that's going to be in different geographies.
Right. Do you see yourself moving to another country or another continent? I mean, you mentioned Africa. I was going to let you go, but this is so interesting to me, right? Because Africa, in a way, right? So just work with me on this for a second. In a way, is similar to India, right? The whole continent there has 1 point something billion people, similar in size in population size to India, but also similar in the sense that if I go from one African country to another African country, in the same way that I go from one Indian city or state to another one, it's almost like a completely different culture, language, and food. How big do you think that opportunity is for a company like yours that's had to cut its chops in India and then move that model to Africa?
You said it rightly. Africa is one, but very diverse,
Yeah.
right? And in certain terms, they are quite advanced in terms of money movement. I think
Yeah.
M-Pesa has been a fantastic
Yep.
model. And how our technology or our business can replicate that, definitely, as I said earlier on, the language of money is same, the business of money is same. Africa has so many people that are underserved. They will move to banking in near future. And with a technology like ours, lending can be made more efficient. The learnings that we have from the Indian market, which is, physical and then digital, that's what it's happening there now. So yeah, we're very excited about the opportunities in Africa.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. That was really great. Rahul Jain, a co-founder of AllCloud. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate your time, and I love the dedication to sound and quality. That was awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you. And it was a great pleasure speaking to you, Michael. It's been great. Thank you.